How are you doing today? I don't know why I just said that way, but hi! I'm so glad you're joining us today. I'm Megan.
And I'm Tessa.
And you have probably heard from one of us. Afana is also with us, so you've probably heard from her if you've ever emailed into Two Bright Lights. So great. We are so excited that you're taking this next step to get published and figure out how to use our platform to make it really simple. So to get things going, I'm going to hand things over to Tessa. She's going to show you everything around, and then I am going to answer your questions in the chat.
All right, thank you, Megan. So I'm going to take it away. So thanks so much for joining us, guys. We're super excited to have you here. I know Megan had mentioned there's the chat function in this. So if you have any questions at any time, feel free to put them in the chat section. I will also be taking about 2 pauses during this whole webinar to answer questions. So definitely keep them coming, and let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you all. Let's see. Alrighty. Oh my goodness.
Hey guys, sorry, it looks like we had a quick technical difficulty, but you know what? We're gonna do it from this computer.
Yeah, why not?
If you bear with us for 1 second, we're just going to get things going.
Let's pull out. I'm sure I'm making the loveliest faces right now as I get this all set up for you guys. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's turn this off, share my screen. Okay, so I think we should be good to go, guys. Sorry about that. So this is the home screen when you log into your account on Two Bright Lights. So today what I'm going to be doing is reviewing these 2 tabs here, the Albums tab and the Submissions tab first. And then we'll be going over a few housekeeping things, how to edit your account information and find things like submission requests and really make the most of using your Two Bright Lights account. So we're going to start on the Albums tab first. So click on that. Okay. So this is the Albums tab. So this is where all of your albums that you're going to build in Two Bright Lights will be housed. Before you actually submit them anywhere, this is where you really start the whole process of getting published. So to start, you want to hit the Create Album button here. Okay, and the first step is really to categorize the album that you're creating. So we have 5 different categories: weddings, engagement, family, parties, and lifestyle. So if you are, doing a wedding, you obviously want to click on the wedding category, but maybe you're uploading a, maternity shoot, so you could click on family and then categorize it further to maternity here. So today I'm going to click on weddings, and I'm going to choose wedding day. And then the next way to categorize that album is based on if it's a real event or if it was a styled shoot. So a styled shoot is one of those shoots you might work on that's more of an inspiration. It wasn't a real wedding. And then real is obviously a real wedding that took place for a couple. So I'm going to hit real for today. Okay, and then you're going to want to fill out the information to really give a background on what you're submitting to these editors. So the first thing that you'll want to fill in is the first and last name of the couple. You can also change gender here. So if you have a bride and bride, groom and groom, you can change that accordingly on the left side. So for right now, let me just fill in a few names. Okay. And then event date. So what date did the wedding take place? And then location. So you can put in the city here. You can change state and then country if it took place outside of the US. And then this side right here is going to be pretty important here, the descriptive title and the album story. So for right now, the album story is optional. You don't have to put that in until you actually do the submission. But some things to consider for the descriptive title. this is going to give the editor a snapshot of what the album is featuring. So you don't want to be too long. You also don't want it to be too short. So really just use a couple of adjectives to really give an editor a quick understanding of what they might see before they click into the album. So something like summer beach wedding on Cape Cod. You've seen I've done this a lot. It gives it a sense of it took place in the summer. It was on the beach, so maybe it had a nautical theme. Clearly, it was outside if it took place on the beach, and it's in Cape Cod, so it's in a New England type wedding. So this album story is really, really an important part of your submission. Photos are one thing, beautiful photos are one thing, but that awesome story and with a lot of detail is going to make for a really stellar submission. So the album story is where you can include all of the information about the album you're submitting. So you'll want to include things like inspiration behind the wedding, maybe the couple's backstory, how they met, how the proposal happened, and then also any really important and unique details that you think an editor should know when they're writing this feature. So things like, was there a locket around the bouquet that had a picture of the bride's grandmother that recently passed away? Or was her wedding dress the same wedding dress that her mom wore? It just was updated to current trend. Anything like that that is sentimental and important and is really going to influence readers that are trying to plan their own wedding, you definitely want to include in this album story section, because it's always important to remember when creating a submission and submitting to publication, the main goal of these editors and publications is they want to find and publish submissions that are going to inspire their readers and really help them with their own wedding planning process. So the more information and the more that you can set up your submission to complete that goal, to inspire couples planning their own wedding, the better you're going to be and the higher chances of getting picked up for your submission. So for right now, I'm just going to put in test, but those are some really important things to think about when writing your album story. So then hit next. Okay, and now this is where you're going to tag your venue and your vendors. So venue is required. If it took place at a house or some kind of private location, you can choose the private residence option here. If not, you can go ahead and search for the venue. One tip here, in both search functions, our website can be a little tricky sometimes, and it won't pull if you type in a full name of a venue or a vendor. So if you search for an entire venue, so something, it's actually a vendor. One example is like Rosewood Catering. If you search Rosewood Catering and it doesn't pull below, try searching by Rosewood to see if it will pull. Most of the time they will. So for right now, I'm going to do, let's see. Okay. Let's hit the magnifying glass. Okay, and they'll pull below. So what you'll want to do is choose the one that makes that fits for the wedding. So Metropolitan Building. Once you see the venue that you want to select, click on the checkbox, and it will add up top. If you are searching for something and you find that it's not already in our database, what you can do is you can create a new listing. So hit that magnifying glass, and what you can do is hit create a new venue. And this is going to have you input all the information like the venue type. Let's see, so if it was a museum, restaurant, anything like that, and then venue name, and then any other information that you can include, city, country, email if you know the contact email for that venue. And then you can hit create and it will tag it for you. So if you can't find something originally in our database, definitely use this create a new venue feature so that you can still properly tag your album. Okay. And then what we're going to want to do is tag all of our vendors. So the more vendors that you can tag in the album, the better. We say at least 7 to 8 vendors if possible. And think about not only things like the florist, the cake baker, think about the dress designer, the designer of the bride's shoes, if she had really cool shoes. Same with the groom, brand of suit, tie, any accessories that you can think of and you know the names of, definitely go ahead and tag them as vendors as well. The more thorough you can be, the better. Publications always want to include those important details, because if you think about it, if I am a couple that's planning my wedding and I'm looking at a bride and I really love her dress and I want to know who the designer is and I scroll down and I can't find the designer, I'm going to be kind of frustrated. So the more information that you can include, the more happy a publication is going to be because they know that their readers want this kind of information. So it's pretty much the same thing as tagging a venue. So I will just search bakery in New York. But if you have ones in mind, you can obviously be a lot more specific with what you're searching. I'm going to tag Blue Jack Bakery Cafe and then hit add selected vendors. And you can see that it added up here. The other two things that I want to point out are on the right side of the page. So we have this brand new client questionnaire feature. We're really excited about it. This is a great way to send a questionnaire to your couple to help them fill in the information for the album. So we have a pre-populated set of questions. There's not too many. It's about 8. And you can have your couple, it will go right to their email, so you can input that information up here, their first and last name, email. And then you can also customize this email to say, explain what's going on, that you want to submit their work, and all they will have to do is open the email, hit tell your story, and they'll start the questionnaire. As long as the couple hits submit, it will save their answers, and those answers will make it to your album, and then an editor can view those questions and answers to those questions. Whenever you're ready to send that, you can always hit the send button. Okay, the other thing I want to point out is ShootQ. So we are integrated with ShootQ. So if you're somebody that uses ShootQ for your information for vendors, you can click and link your accounts and that information will be able to be pulled over to your submission as well. So next, we're going to hit the next button. And this is where you're going to want to tag your album as best as possible to really describe the type of submission you're sending. So color themes are up top. So anything that you think are, descriptive of the type of wedding color palette that was at the wedding. So we'll do, let's see, blue, and we can do yellow and white. And then you can go down here and tag based on setting, style, season, ethnicity, religion, and holiday. So if you don't have one for each category, don't worry. But one thing that I do want to point out is this section is really, really important because of our new matching tool. So we'll be showing you the matching tool on the submissions page in a little bit, but we did just recently add a matching tool that will help pair your submission with the publications that source content through 2 Bright Lights. And this is really the way that we help match your album to publications. The more that you can be descriptive on this page, the better we will be able to match your submission to different publications. So for example, if I click, let's see, barn, here we go, barn, rustic, summer. Okay, we'll start with those. So barn, rustic, summer, wedding. Our back end is going to be publications to match testing with the publications that are currently looking for barn, rustic type weddings. So the more that you can be detailed on this page, the better it's going to be when you're actually on that submissions page and looking to match your publication, your submission to publications. So once you're done doing all the different labeling, you can hit next. Okay, and you're going to be brought to an empty album shell. So this is your album with all the information that you just inputted here, but it hasn't had images added to it yet. So we're going to add images by clicking on the Add Images button here on the left side of the page. Okay, so a few things I want to note here. We do have image requirements when you're uploading to 2 Bright Lights. We ask that all images be at least 2,000 pixels wide. This allows editors to get high-res images, but to be able to size down if needed. Editors would much rather have to size down with high-res images than have to reach out to you and ask for more high-level images and kind of have to do that back and forth. So always try to upload as large as possible, 2,000 pixels wide at least. All images should have no watermark. They should be in JPEG format. And when you have a paid subscription and you're looking to submit your work on 2 Bright Lights, you have the ability to upload up to 150 images per album. So couple things about this 150 images. I know sometimes we get feedback that sounds like a lot of images. One thing to keep in mind is to be detail heavy with your submissions. So the majority of those 150 in your album, it should at least be 7% detail shots. So what makes a detail shot? It can be anything from the cake to the back of the bride's dress, to the up close of the flowers, or something like that locket with a sentimental picture like I mentioned before. So those details that you probably will call out in the album story, you want to make sure you have pictures of those details in your submission, so that way editors can take a look and pick which ones they want to feature. So like I said, 70% on the details and 30 with the portraits of the couple, of the family, and then of the reception and ceremony. And then let's see, up at the top, we have integrations. So we are integrated with Dropbox, MugMug, Zenfolio, and Shootproof. So if you have any of those accounts and you have your photos and you manage them on, Zenfolio or Dropbox, MugMug or Shootproof, you can click on those logos to connect to your account and pull those images over to your submission. If not, what you can do is click on the My PC button here, and you'll be prompted to start uploading images straight from your desktop to build your album. Okay, so let's go back here. One more thing that I want to note is that at any point you can always edit your album and add more information. So if you create an album and maybe you forgot who the florist was and you wanted to go, call the planner and just double check who the florist was, you can always click back into your album and then hit this edit album button here. And then you can click on vendors. You can also click on album info if you wanted to add more information to album story. If you wanted to add a vendor, you could always click on that and then, follow those steps that you did when you originally created the album to add more vendors and add more information. Once you're done adding that extra information, be sure to hit the save button to make sure that everything stays and updates in your album. Okay, and then I just want to go back to the Albums tab one more time to show you a couple things here. You do have the ability to download the album if you want to download the whole thing, and then you can also submit directly from a thumbnail once it is complete and ready to be submitted. So I'm going to take this time here to just pause quickly and see if we have any questions so far, and then once we kind of wrap up with that, we can head on to the submission section and talk about how to submit your album that you just built. Okay, so do we have any questions?
We'll give it a second, but can we talk about the questionnaire? Is that something that we can use for all album types? Are there only certain ones available?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Definitely. So we have expanded our questionnaire to be for multiple album types. So we also have family and engagements, things like that. So you can always use that questionnaire as a way to include important information about your submission. So if you are submitting an engagement or a proposal shoot to somebody like how he asked, you can use that questionnaire to help fill in the information about the proposal, and you don't have to input that information. Your couple can do that. And it's something too that I think couples get really excited about, to know that you're actually submitting their album and wanting to get them published. It really helps. A lot of times they will do it because they're excited and it helps them feel special and they want to be included and help you get published.
Yeah, and Kelly asked a really good question about whether or not she could fill it out for her clients, because she already asks for clients for questions and things like that. So yeah, absolutely, you can do that. You could just send the questionnaire to yourself instead. Yeah. So it's really up to you how you want to handle that.
Yeah, definitely, because we know that you guys do send out questionnaires already to your couple. So definitely, if that's something that you think would be helpful and wouldn't would take a little bit of work off of your couple's plate, definitely go ahead and do that too. Okay.
Awesome. Well, I think we can move on.
All right. So we can go to the submissions tab first. Okay, so it looks a lot like the albums tab. This is where all of your submissions will be housed, and you can check on the different statuses of your submissions. So one thing I want to point out at the top here is we have the submitted, that's the airplane. The green check mark is accepted. This radio dial means published. X means not a fit, all, and then pencil is draft. So if you ever started a submission and didn't finish it, you can always go back to drafts and access it there. So if you ever want to check and see, okay, I have one that's accepted and it's going to be published, I want to see who it was with and when it's going to be published, you can do that. Same with, see which ones you have had published, all of that good stuff. So to get started, you can hit on the Create Submission button. I do want to note, like I mentioned before, you can actually also start a submission from the albums page using that paper airplane button. That's another way to start a submission as well. But today we're going to go back to the Submissions tab and start by hitting Create Submission. Okay, and then you can select any album that you want to go ahead and submit. So I'm going to choose this one for today. All right, and it's going to ask you to finalize the information to send off to the publications. So just double checking that client information, the album story, making sure that you want to include as many details as possible in the album story, any tags, anything like that. Hit the terms of service agreement and then hit next. Okay, so this is our new and improved submissions matching page. So we're really excited about this. We just gave it a complete overhaul to really help you guys and have that submissions process be more efficient and to help match you to different publications. So what you're going to want to do is first start by clicking exclusive or non-exclusive. So one thing to keep in mind when you're submitting to publication is really figuring out and choosing if you want to submit to exclusive publication or to non-exclusive publications. Exclusive publications are editors that want to publish material that has not been featured elsewhere. So if you have a wedding that you've already had published, but you want to submit it again, exclusive is definitely not the way to go. Non-exclusives are the way to go because non-exclusives don't mind if your album has been published anywhere else. But if you have a brand new wedding that you're looking to get published and it hasn't been published anywhere else, maybe exclusive is a good option for you. One thing I also will note is that non-exclusive sometimes are a good way to really get your feet wet and get used to the process of submitting. So if you're new to the whole process and you're looking to get published in a little bit more of a faster manner, or want to just see and get some feedback from different publications, maybe the non-exclusive route is the best one for you because you can go ahead and click, we say 5 to 7 is kind of that sweet spot. You can submit that many at a time and start getting feedback right away. So today I'm going to keep it on non-exclusive and hit select. All right, and then we are going to show you this lovely new matching tool. We're super excited about it. So based on those tags that I talked about before, publications will pull based on what you categorize your wedding as. So publications that match your album will come up here. And then if you know that there's other publications you're interested in submitting to as well, you can scroll down the page and click those as well. So it's definitely up to you, but this matching section here is really a great way just to get started and figure out where you want to submit your work. One thing I'll note too is these little location tags. So since this matching tool is in beta, we're working on making more tweaks so it's even more efficient and specific with matching your albums. So for right now, location really isn't completely taken into consideration when we match your album. So just keep that in mind. So here, Washingtonian blog pulled up because they're looking for the type of submission that I have. But if this is a submission that didn't take place in Washington, D.C. or Maryland or Virginia, you can always hover over this to see the location specifics. Then you won't want to submit it to Washingtonian because it's not applicable for their region. And same with Honeysuckle Brides. They're only looking for submissions from Kentucky. But these others really are a great match based on the style tags. You can also further filter based on the stuff on the left side here. So we have print versus web, publications that only have requests on the request tab, which we will go over in a few minutes. Personal rating. So if you had gone ahead and rated a few publications, you can search by that as well. And then category. So if you want to see more specifically what publications are looking for, maybe boudoir or trash the dress sessions, you can do that as well. So we'll just pick a couple here. Okay, and whatever publications that you pick, they'll show up on the right side here. Whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and hit the next button. Okay, and this is the last step of the submissions process. So we definitely encourage you to take the time to write a personalized note to each editor. Definitely don't overlook this step. I know it can be hard. You just want to get those albums submitted. You're really excited, but take that time to click on each one. So that's how you can open it up and write a note. And write a personalized note to show the editors that you did your research and that you're really interested in getting published in their publication. So like I said, we'll go over the request tab, but if you did see that a publication had a specific request looking for, rustic barn weddings that took place in the summer, be sure to mention that in this note so that they know that you took the time to learn and see what types of submissions they're looking for. It really helps you stand out and shows the editors that you did your homework and that you really do enjoy their publication and know a lot about it. And whenever you're done, hit save. and then you can hit the submit button to complete the submission. If you want to save it as a draft, you can click on the save as a draft button here. It's sometimes a good way, if you do have a couple more things you want to add or you just want to verify something, you can click save. It will save all of your work and where you want to match it to, and then you can go back to that pencil icon that said drafts and access the draft and go ahead and finish the submission. Okay. So I'm going to pause one more time just to see if there's any questions about how to submit to publication, and then I'll go over the request tab, our community tab, and anything else that you guys might want to review.
Okay, so while we are waiting for maybe a question or two, a question about the matching tool. So if I'm going in and submitting, am I limited to the ones that I'm matched with, or can I submit to anybody?
So you are not limited. That's the wonderful thing about our match tool is it's more of like a suggestion tool. You're not going to be pigeonholed or required to submit to the publications that match based on your style tags. Like I said before, you can see them at the top of the screen, and you can take those as suggestions and see maybe which publications might be a good fit. But if there's another publication that you really had your heart set on for submission, you can scroll down the screen and pick that publication as well. So you're definitely not locked into anything that you get matched to. It's more like a helpful suggestion tool just to help you see who you might be a good fit for publication. Just because we do have so many publications on our site, it can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming to figure out which ones might be a good best fit for your work.
Sure. Do you have any suggestions on how to research publications?
Sure. Well, so if there's we do have a question. That's something I'm going to tackle in just a minute. But let's see. So Nina has a question. The editors. Okay. So you can't get feedback for your submission. So Nina asked kind of what's the deal with feedback on your submission if it's marked as not a fit. When you, let's see, let me pull one up for you guys so you can actually see what it looks like. So you can actually check your album's history by going to the album tab. I think it was this one. Clicking into your album. Oops. And then hitting that 3-bar icon and then hitting the history button. Here we go. So this is just an example of feedback. So when an editor gets your submission and they mark it as not a fit, they do get a pop-up to label based on feedback as to why they didn't pick your submission. So when they give that kind of feedback, and they also have a box to put in customized feedback as well. So when they put in that feedback, it will show up in your album's history so you can see what they think about your submission and learn to maybe update or correct for next time if you're ever going to submit again to that publication. So click that history button, and as you can see, scroll down and read the types of feedback that you can get from different publications. So these are just examples for the purpose of this webinar. But if you did submit to the not and it got a not fit, definitely go ahead and check that history button to see what did the editors say. Maybe were you missing something? Is it not necessarily the style of photography? Are you not the best fit for the not? And maybe you should be tailoring your submissions to publications based on photography style, anything like that. Definitely check the history button to get some good feedback. This is also a good button to see just the status as well. So if you want to see maybe where you submitted it in the past, anything of that kind of status nature, the history button is going to be your go-to tool for that.
Awesome. And so let's see. Oh, I think we're good. That was another question that we already answered.
Awesome. Okay, so to Megan's question about how do you research those publications? So, you now have learned how to build your album and how to submit it, but there's always that question of where do I submit my album? There's hundreds of publications on Two Bright Lights. How do you find ones that are the right fit for your work? So the first tool that I want to point out is the request tab here. So let's click on that tab. Okay. This is going to bring you to our request page. So the request page is a live feed of all of the requests coming in from our editors in real time. So publications are always looking for submissions throughout the year, but we all know that different times of the year, different publication cycles, they're going to be looking for specific content. So for example, maybe in the fall, a couple of publications are going to be sourcing things for Christmas or for New Year's, holiday themed type submissions. You can see those types of requests on the requests tab. So definitely click on that tab to do some of that research and find out what types of weddings and just submissions in general publications are looking for. So you can see here, there's quick descriptions and details. So like Pretty My Party, they're looking for children's birthday parties, bridal showers, and baby showers, and it goes into detail here. And then it tells you the due date here. So they're looking for those kinds of submissions by September 30th. If you have a submission that's ready to go and you're just ready to submit it, you don't even have to go back to the submissions page. You can click on the airplane icon here and begin that whole submissions process right from the request tab. You can also flag different requests. So if there are a few that you are interested in looking back at and you want to do some work on your albums page and maybe beef up some of your albums before you submit them, you can flag them so you don't forget about them. So we'll just flag a couple here. And then you can always filter by flag. So click on the filter button to be able to filter the request page. You can filter by flag. And as you can see, the ones that we flagged pull up here. You can also filter by policy. So say you are new and you want to only submit to non-exclusives, but you want to see what non-exclusive publications have active requests. You can hit the non-exclusive button. Let's see, you can also get rid of the flag filter too. So if you just want to see the non-exclusives and with active requests, here we go. Here they are. And then you can also filter by publication, so specific publications in mind or categories. So maybe you have a family session that you want to submit. You can click on family. So now we have family and non-exclusive, and you can see all of those requests here. Okay, so that's really this request tab in a nutshell. The other tool that I really want to point out to you, it's so helpful, is the community tab. So click on the avatar in the top right-hand corner of your screen to get started, and then click on the community tab. Then hit Browse Publications. So the community tab is going to be super important for you when you're trying to do that research to figure out who you should be submitting your work to. So we do have that wonderful matching tool now in the system, but some of the legwork and doing the research ahead of time is going to be just as helpful, so you know where you should be submitting your work to, and you're not totally relying on that matching tool, but you have a good feel for what publications are looking for and how you can tailor your submissions to get published. So the Browse Publications tab under the Community tab houses all of our editor profiles. So each of these thumbnails here are going to be our editor's profile. So let's click on the knot just to see what theirs looks like. Okay, so this is the knot's editor profile. It's going to house all of the important information that you need to be able to kind of just everything, really. I mean, tailor your submission, figure out editor submission guidelines, their typical turnaround time, anything like that, even their email. If you have a question, you want to reach out to the editors there. So this first screen will show you their email. It kind of gives you their backstory, their website, the categories that they like to accept. So they only accept weddings. You can scroll down to see even more information. So it talks about submission requirements. It even lists out their different print deadlines for their regional publications. It talks about editorial style, and it even gives things like number of features a year, their typical response time. So somebody like The Knot, because they publish magazines and it's only a few times a year, they may take up to 6 months to review a submission, and they say that right in their response time. So you can have a better understanding. If you submit to The Knot and it's been 2 months, and sometimes you're super excited and it's just a little bit stressful to wonder, like, do they even see it? Do they not want to submit, take my work and feature it? You can feel a little bit more reassured and relaxed that they do take up to 6 months. So it might just be that they are still a little bit too far away from a deadline to start going through their submissions. It's something to think about. If you don't want to wait that long, maybe submitting to The Knot is not the right fit for you at this time. So yeah, basically in a nutshell, these editor profile pages are what you're going to want to go to make sure that you're submitting to publications that fit with your expectations and goals for getting published. The other thing that you can do too is you can submit directly from an editor profile. So if you are super into a certain publication, somebody like The Knot, and you want to submit, you don't have to go back to that submissions page to start a submission. You can just hit the submit to this publisher button, and you'll be brought right into that submissions process. The last thing that I want to point out on the editor profile page is this section down here. It's called the portfolio. A lot of our editors have taken the time to fill this out and show a sample of the work that they like to feature. So as well, The Knot does have a certain type of aesthetic, and this portfolio gives you a good snapshot of the types of images they like to feature. So this might be helpful if you're somebody that is maybe a little bit timid or stressed out about the submissions process because let's face it, everything right now, the big trend is this light and airy. Everybody loves the light and bright and light and airy. And you're somebody who takes in that dark and moody photography style. We hear this a lot. You can use this tool to match your work with the publications that are looking to feature your style of work. So if you are a moody, dark photography style, you can take a look and see, okay, maybe the knot is not the right fit. They don't feature that dark, moody style of photography, but you could find publications like ISO Alt or Ultra Bride or the Babetown Collective who love that dark and moody photography and kind of match your work there and try to get published in the publications that will be the right fit for your work. So definitely check out the portfolio section when you're trying to see, what style of work publications are looking to feature on their sites or magazines. Okay, the last thing I want to point out is the My Account tab. So this is more of a housekeeping type of item within 2 Bright Lights. So sometimes we will hear like, okay, I just rebranded and I updated my photography name and I changed it, or I changed email addresses, my phone numbers changed, anything like that, you can do on the My Account tab. So get started by clicking on the avatar on the right hand of the screen, side of the screen, and then click My, you'll be brought to this page. And this is where all of your important information is stored. So anything like changing your email address, adding a Facebook handle, anything like that, be sure to scroll down, hit edit, and then include or edit that information. And then definitely hit that save button so nothing gets lost. You can also access badges. So if you got picked up for a feature and you wanted to download a badge to your website or share on social media, you can find those under the My Account tab and then the Badges tab. Subscription, settings, permission, all of that stuff is going to help you be a little bit more efficient on 2 Bright Lights. So subscription is just if you want to manage your subscription, settings, passwords, anything like that. And then permissions, this is going to be important if you work with vendors. So say you have a wedding planner who's offering to submit on your behalf and take a little bit of work off your plate. So great, that's such a win. You can accept and allow them to submit on your behalf through 2 Bright Lights through this permissionings tab. So wedding planners, as long as they have a paid subscription, or any vendor really, but a lot of times it's wedding planners, florists, people of that nature, they'll sign up for an account. They can send a request to your account and you can approve it here. So you can see there's a few here. You can take action on those. And if you accept that request, those vendors will be able to submit on your behalf, and that's kind of it for you. All you have to do is hit accept and they'll take it from there. So this is kind of a nice way to help get your work published and submitted, maybe if you have a busy season or it's not necessarily a huge priority at this point for your business. You can still help other vendors submit on your behalf, and it's really a win-win for everybody. The planner gets featured, you get your work featured, and you didn't have to do tons and tons of work. So that's where you can go ahead and manage your permissions. Oops, let's see. It's asking yes on this page. So again, I'm going to pause one more time and just see if there's any more questions.
Sure. So Kelly has a question about email notifications if somebody requests permission. How does that work?
Yeah. So you also will get an email notification. So that's something I should mention. 2 Bright Lights really does a good job of keeping you updated with your account every step of the way. So you get email notifications for things like that. So if a planner wants to submit on your behalf, you'll be notified. You'll also get email notifications based on the status of your submissions. So say you submit something to the Knot, you'll get email notifications when the editor takes a look at it and it becomes under review status. If they mark it as not a fit or they decide to accept it and feature it, you'll get email notifications when those statuses change for your submission. And then you'll also get an email notification when something is published. So if you got published on Cake and Lace blog, you'll get an email notification saying congratulations, you've been published, and here's the link to your published feature. So definitely keep an eye on your email to help stay on top of everything that's going on within your 2 Bright Lights account. Okay, like I said, definitely feel free to send any questions. I think we're about to wrap it up. So I know we met Megan before. My name is Tessa. So I run all of our customer service with Ivana. The two of us really tackle all of our any questions that come into customer service. We're a super small team and we love hearing from you guys. So definitely feel free to reach out to hello@twobrightlights.com if you have any questions after watching the webinar. And then be sure to follow us on social. We love hearing from you guys, getting shout outs. So definitely check out our Facebook and Instagram. We also have Twitter as well. So we hope that this was super helpful, and definitely feel free to reach out if you have any other questions about getting started on the platform. And thanks so much for joining us today, guys. It was a lot of fun, and I hope this was super helpful for you. Have a great afternoon, everybody.